What is going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday night to you and yours. This is the All About the Birds weekly report. We're talking Philadelphia Eagles tonight here on this beautiful Wednesday night. I am joined, as always, by my wonderful partners in crime. We got Johnny U. Lecca at Johnny U9322. And we got Jeff Warner at Jeff Warner NFL. I, of course, am Chip at Chip for the Birds. Gentlemen, happy Wednesday. What is happening?
Are you happy? I put my at
your Twitter handle.
Dude, I told you I don't need it. It's up here. It is.
But, you asked, so I put it in there.
I did. I did. You're just lucky that I remember your name since your name's not on there now.
I know now my name's not on there. See, I asked.
So before we get started, I want to shout out all of our incredible sponsors here at All About the Birds. Without them, we could not do what we do. So going just straight top to bottom from what I can see with my eyes. First off, I want to give a shout out to Statement Games. They are a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. You can check them out for a great way to win some money. And speaking of winning money, don't forget about oddsjam.com. You can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. So we're talking about winning money. Use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. We, of course, have the All About the Birds website shop at aatbirds.com/shop. Look for all of your awesome new designs. Plus, if you have a great idea for a design, drop one of us a little, then we'll try and get it in the shop. We are also sponsored by 99jersey.com. We have the code AATBirds20 for a 20% discount off at checkout. And of course, last but certainly not least, we have manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Use the code AATBirds for a 20% off and free shipping at checkout. All right, bills are paid. Guys, we are a week away from training camp. Let's just start breaking down these positions, because I got to tell you, if you look at some of these things like the PFF, right, the Pro Football Focus, they're hating on the Eagles hard. You look at pretty much anybody, and they're hating on this roster. So a week away from training camp, I'm going to go Johnny, I'm going to go Jeff. Johnny, how are you feeling before we do any specifics? How are you feeling about this Philadelphia Eagles team?
What I'm feeling is I love that training camp's around the corner, which means we're going to be able to know a lot more than we did last year in terms of being able to see these younger players, and that for me that's huge. And
okay,
how I feel about the roster, I felt great about the roster last year, and look how that turned out. So, I'm like Jeff has said it before. I'm very optimistic when it comes to the Eagles, but I'm just ready for training camp to start. I always love training camp. It's always around my birthday it starts. So, two positives there, right?
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jeff, I'm a little like, do I send it to the man? All right, Jeff, how are you feeling about the Philadelphia Eagles roster and the team in general?
Look, it's a wait-and-see approach. We haven't even started training camp yet. Right now on paper, are they the best team in the NFL, NFC, or the division? Probably not. But I'm interested to see, and of course, everyone's focus is going to be on the new head coach and the new starting quarterback. And it's a sky's the limit. This team could go as far as those two can take them this upcoming season. I feel they do have the veteran leadership in place to win that locker room, get that locker room in place. They made some key acquisitions, maybe not the marquee names, but in my opinion, solid acquisitions to this roster to fill some holes. They still do have some weaknesses, but look, we understand. The fan base understands this is not a Super Bowl aspiration type of year, and it's a wait-and-see approach.
And, I think that we've talked about this ad nauseum, where we've said, this is not a Super Bowl year. This is not a Super Bowl year. But you also have to understand that as a Philadelphia fan base, that's what we want every year. So, again, it's tabling those expectations. I think there is a really great excitement surrounding this team. Like you said, they might not be the best on paper, but there is a rejuvenation with this team that wasn't there with the last regime and the last coach and the last roster. This is a young roster that is hungry and wants to prove something.
Yeah, of course they want to prove something because there's a lot of jobs open. So there's a lot to prove. And to me, that's huge. And you're going to see the competition aspect is going to be it's vital here with all these positions that are open. And there's a lot of spots that are open. When we go position by position, we're going to discuss that.
Right. So I think that's a good segue. We are going to go position by position as of who is on the roster right now on July 21st. Let's be real clear about this. We know it's early. Shout out to Adam. What's up, Adam? Look, we know it's early. We know this roster is going to change through some last-second free agent acquisitions. We know it's going to change through injuries. We know it's going to change, but this is what we are working off of right this very second. So we're going to look at these position battles. We're going to see which ones are kind of locked in place, and we're also going to say, like, this is a weak position. This is one of the stronger positions on the team. So before we start, shout out to Johnny for some sick graphics coming your way. They look good. And you guys ready to do this? You guys ready to break this thing down?
Sure.
All right. Then we shall send ourselves over to the side. Check this out. All right. We're going to start. Where did you get your sweatshirt? Looks sick. I don't know. This was a present. Actually, I do. This was from Rally House. Rally House has these sweatshirts. It is it is comfortable sweatshirt. I am freezing up in my house right now, so it is keeping me nice and toasty. Rally House, though, for the old school Eagles sick gear. Thanks, Ryan. Good question. All right.
Better send us that freaking residual check now.
Shout out to Rally House. We're looking for sponsors as always. All right, quarterbacks. Gentlemen, who wants to break down this first one here? We got 3 on the roster right now.
To me, I think it's just this is kind of like a quick one. I understand we've talked ad nauseum about Jalen Hurts, and we've discussed it. Do they keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster? Do they keep 2? What are they really going to do? To me, it's Jalen Hurts, and then if they keep Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins, to me, it's you focus on Jalen Hurts because this is his year, to show what he's got, and you have Nick Sirianni's there. This offense, to cater the offense towards him, to mold the offense to what his strengths are. And I think that, Jalen Hurts, to me, I like him as a quarterback. I like him as a prospect. I like him as an NFL starting quarterback. But yeah, to me, this just really, it's you live and die with Jalen Hurts, of course, but the rest of the guys are okay. It's a veteran and a journeyman.
Okay. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, it's pretty clear cut and dry. And for any fan that's saying that Joe Flacco has a chance to take Jalen Hurts' starting position at some point in training camp, you're whack, dude. Whoever says that, they need to get their head examined. This is Jalen Hurts' team, barring any type of injury. The reason they have Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins on the roster is for them to fight up for that backup position because they're both veterans in this league that have had starting experience. They want those two to battle it out. That's the real quarterback competition in training camp. Not Jalen Hurts and Joe Flacco. It's Joe Flacco and Nick Mullins who can be his backup. And granted, this team is that bad. We're not going to have a Nick Foles situation. If Jalen Hurts is lost for the year, I do not have faith in Joe Flacco or Nick Mullins to step in and lead us on a deep playoff run or anything like that. So it's mainly just for depth and to fill some role and fill some roster spots. I do feel that they do keep all 3. Just from Sirianni, they like he likes quarterbacks. You can't have enough quarterbacks, but it might not be one of these guys. They might get cut and they might bring someone else in. We don't know, but I think at the end of camp they will keep 3.
Yeah. So I tend to agree, Jeff. I do think that they're going to keep 3 for different reasons than you, though. So they are already paying Joe Flacco a lot of money. Yeah. And some of it's guaranteed and some of it's performance-based, but they're paying Joe Flacco a lot of money. They're not just going to pay him that and then cut him off. Nick Mullins is a guy that they can keep for a couple of years and groom him as a backup, where Joe Flacco, like Adam is saying, might not have anything left. He might be here for 1 year and done. Yep. Remember, a lot of these players are proven contracts. Joe Flacco is sitting here on a proven contract.
Yeah, and Joe Flacco's had injuries too. He's there as a veteran, and he wasn't really one to mentor other quarterbacks. So that's
he doesn't want to mentor.
No,
that's not what he's here for.
But Nick, to me, the Nick Mullins thing, yeah, he started a handful of games. He's a veteran quarterback. He's worked in a system that could potentially be, somewhat of, familiarity of the way possibly Sirianni's going to run his offense. But I agree with Jeff, though. Also, you need arms come preseason. Yep. I know there's only 3 games, but you need guys to be able to throw the ball in practice. 1, 2, Jalen Hurts isn't going to play every single snap of preseason.
No.
He's going to play a majority. Flacco's going to get in there here and there, but you're going to need some garbage time 4-string minutes from Nick Mullins. So,
Johnny, you still think that, and again, we're kind of operating off of the old preseason way of thinking. You think that Jalen Hurts is going to be spending a lot of time during preseason games on the field?
To me, I think you need to give as many reps. I think he needs to play each of those games. I'm not saying he needs to play the first half in each of those games, but he needs to be able to get. I understand he had 4 games last year, but this coaching staff on the field, game reps, even though it is the preseason, I feel it would be beneficial for him to play in each of those 3 preseason games.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, like you said, quarterbacks, we kind of know what's up. So let's get moving on, and let's get talking about a very, very full running back room. It is so full that Mike, the intern, actually had to take down the banner so that we could show all the names.
Well, there's going to be a lot of positions like that. There's 90 guys on the roster. So
okay, but running back is a little ridiculous because this is not a running back league anymore. You have 1, maybe 2 running backs per team that are studs. And here we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is it? 8 running backs in the room as of right now.
I'll tell you right now.
I think they actually have more than that. That's just probably all that Johnny can fit on the freaking screen.
I do have to say that this running back room is probably the best they've had in a couple of years, in my opinion.
Okay.
If you look at it, you break it down, you look at Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, Kerryon Johnson, Boston Scott, Jordan Howard. Right there, there's 5 guys. I know you and your Jordan Howard, but you look at it and there's so many different, if you look at each of those 5 guys that I mentioned, I'm not going to mention the bottom 3 because maybe one or 2 of those guys end up on the practice squad, so on and so forth. Even though I like my Adrian Killens and wishing the best for him, but I just think that each of those guys do something differently for you, and how they can possibly be used when you look at a team like the Indianapolis Colts and all the running backs that they had. And you understand the league is more of a 2 running back league, but if you look at each of what those guys can do, Miles Sanders, hopefully he can be able to catch the ball a lot better than he did last year, maybe kind of break out of a little bit of a sophomore type of slump. You can kind of say he still has a productive year, but Gainwell can do a number of things. He was better than the Washington's Antonio Gibson when they played together in 2019 with Memphis. But Kerryon Johnson and Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, they all bring something different to the table. So that's something I really am interested to see.
I personally think that so we didn't do this with the quarterback room. I think the quarterback room is just average. We don't really know what they're going to be. So it's not a position of weakness, but it's a position of uncertainty just because we don't know what Jalen Hurts has.
Yep.
This, I do think, as of right now, is one of the strengths on this team. Because Miles Sanders can be a top-tier running back if he wakes the hell up and plays like one. I liked the pickup of Kenny Gainwell. I thought he was a kind of a steal a little bit. Kerryon Johnson, again, good pickup. Boston Scott, I'm ready for him to be done on this team. I'm over the Boston Scott shenanigans of it all, unless we're playing the Giants. Then we can bring him back. Jordan Howard's a bum, but the top 3 names I think are quality names. So I think this is one of the strengths of the team.
Yeah, it's one of the strengths, and it's gonna be a very difficult process for Howie and the management. Because remember, Howie's and the front office and the scouts. Granted, I'm sure they'll give Sirianni his input, but It's going to come down to them to assembling this roster. They're the ones that are going to have final say, not Sirianni. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage this roster when it comes to cut time. Granted, let's be real. We all know Jason Huntley, Adrian Killians, and Elijah Holyfield are most likely not making the team. They, like Johnny said, they bring some talent, but they're probably going to be ending up on the practice squad. Miles Sanders is your lead back, obviously. I know a lot of people were a little skeptical on Gainwell and Boston Scott, but Gainwell, he was a potential third-round talent they got in the 5th round. They're not going to risk losing him by cutting him and putting him on their practice squad. So I do feel Gainwell definitely is going to be in the mix, if not probably almost a guaranteed spot for the team, unless he completely bombs out. Where I really feel the competition is going to come, because they both bring similar type of roles, is going to be between Kerryon Johnson and Jordan Howard for possibly that third and final running back spot, in my opinion. So,
yeah, and then the other thing you have to also look at the running back room is the potential to play on special teams. It's always going to be something that you're going to need to look at, because does Jordan Howard play special teams? No, he
doesn't play offense either. That's a wasted pick. I've been saying it for months. The fact that Jordan Howard is still on this roster is an absolute abomination. That is a wasted spot. They can cut him after the second preseason game and be done with it.
Yeah, they got him on the cheap, and they didn't know what's going to happen throughout the regular or throughout the offseason. They know what's going to happen in the draft. They expect to get Kenny Gainwell probably where they selected him. So it was basically an insurance policy. Because they signed him in end of March or so. So it was right before the draft. It's going to be interesting to see on how many they keep, though. If they keep 3 and 4, and yes, special teams brings a player value, but how many of these guys, besides the final 3 names, really bring any type of special team value? We saw Boston Scott last year trying to be a kick returner, and he freaking flamed out.
God.
Taking out the end zone consistently, getting to the 10 to 15-yard line. So
I'm talking special teams in not returning. I'm talking you can also look at special teams in the terms of playing on kickoff and punt return teams and stuff like that too. So Gainwell can give you that as well. So that's where you have to look. How many running backs are they going to keep? Are they going to keep 4? Sanders, Gainwell, Kerryon Johnson. What kind of value? Because I know he's good blocking back. He showed potential in Detroit. What do you have with him? So there's going to be some questions answered, but I feel this room is a lot basically deeper in terms of talent than it's been in a few years prior. That's my
and I agree with that. I look at it from a different perspective of, are the Rams calling the Eagles about any of the names on this list to replace Cam Akers? No.
Nope.
Maybe Miles Sanders, but we're not trading Miles Sanders.
No.
So everyone else is just a spell back for Miles Sanders. What it comes down to is Miles Sanders has to have a great season in order for this group to have success.
But Chip, I'm sorry. I was going to put a slide here that said fullbacks and have nobody on it.
I know.
But I didn't do it.
You should have.
I thought about you, though. And I'm like, but there's no fullbacks. Can't make that slide.
# bring back the fullback. All right. Wide receivers, y'all. Jeff, why don't you give us the rundown? Who's catching the ball?
The only one that's going to be catching the ball is the guy that hasn't even stepped on it down yet in the NFL. Our boy Devontae Smith, Mr. First-round pick.
Let's go.
I'll say on this list, look, Devontae, he hasn't played it down, and he probably is the most talented wide receiver currently on the roster. Nothing against the rest of these guys, but Jalen Reagor was a first-round disappointment last year. Travis Fulgham and Quez Walker-Hightower, yeah, they had some flashes in the pan, but let's be real. They're not going to be a difference maker in this offense. Greg Ward, we don't know why the hell is he still on this team? Carson Wentz is no longer the quarterback, so his best friend on the roster is no longer even here, so why the hell is he still even here? But granted, he's the guy with the most catches currently on the roster at the moment. And then Michael Walker, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Osborne. I don't even know how to pronounce that name.
Jamon Osborne.
I don't even have to worry about him because he's not making the freaking damn roster. So let's be real. But I'm kind of happy. Like we discussed it a little bit last week about Adam Kaplan, about his theory on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and hopefully the front office is what they do is is that they don't keep him just based off of where they selected him. He's going to have a hell of a camp and outperform a lot of these other players if he wants to continue to be on the roster for 2021.
Yeah, I think the Greg Ward Jr. kind of falls into the Boston Scott thing of that was an old regime love fest.
Yep.
They got to earn their spots. And look, Greg Ward Jr. has done some great things against teams that we can't stand. So, like, cool on him. But I'm over the Greg Ward Jr. thing.
Yeah.
I'm over the Boston Scott thing. And when you're looking at guys like Watkins and Hightower, they were thrown into starting roles when there was absolutely no player development. So because of that, I think that they're going to actually get coached. So we don't know what they have. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he's done. He's got to have an absolutely stellar camp in order for him to be on this roster. He is a bum and a half. We're going to see something out of Jalen Reagor. We're going to see something out of Devontae Smith. Everyone else, it's just, we're playing with house money at that point.
Which brings up Peanut's question, who will be the wide receiver preseason surprise guy? And what happens if JJ is that surprise guy? What happens if he balls out and outperforms the rest of these wide receivers? Do you still bring him back just based off a couple of wide receiver reps against second and third team competition? Or
no,
do they base it off what he's done in actual games where it mattered?
No. Bye.
The thing about Arcega-Whiteside, it goes back to what I said with the running backs. The value of special teams is huge because if you keep a guy like Arcega-Whiteside who doesn't play special teams and you have because my opinion, it's of course Devontae, Jalen, Fulgham. I think those three spots to me are pretty much locked up.
Why Fulgham, Johnny? Because he had a couple good games. What puts him above Greg Ward Jr.?
To me, Fulgham gives you an outside guy, and I feel like Sirianni as a wide receivers coach, a wide receiver coach, is going to be able to teach up Fulgham. Now, they did such a great job in Indianapolis with some of the receivers that they were given there, and to be able to mold them into productive players. Quez Watkins is another guy I really like. Hightower, he was able to get on the field early because of injury.
Brandon.
But the thing with Hightower is he showed you, he could get open, but he couldn't catch the ball.
Right.
So many drops. And, is there still a veteran out that they're going to wind up bringing in? Because the thing is, rosters are never set. Even when they say, the final 53, it's not the final 53 because there's always maneuvering and there's always roster shuffling no matter what you do. But to me, I think the surprise could be a Quez Watkins or a John Hightower. Those type of guys. But again, I think special teams is going to be, a pretty big thing as well, because you can't keep Arcega-Whiteside if he's just going to – if Fulgham's there and Arcega-Whiteside's there, it's just you want to be able to have guys that can kind of do a number of things, especially on the special teams aspect.
I looked at Fulgham, and I like a lot of his skill set. I like that he goes up high for a ball. I like that he is – in theory, a good route runner. I think that he is the most coachable wide receiver on this list, just based off of what he already brought in as far as natural skill. But outside of Smith and Reagor, this is a very unproven room. Very unproven room.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct on it.
Jeff, any final thoughts on the wide receiver room?
Not really. Look, you guys basically it up. It's going to be one of those question marks that we continue to talk about throughout the preseason until someone steps up. Because look, they drafted Jalen Reagor with the first round pick last year. We hoped that he had a breakout year and didn't. So we're hoping that sluggish that the history doesn't repeat itself with Devontae Smith. Granted, Devontae Smith is a human highlight reel, at least in college.
Sure.
Where Reagor was a head scratcher, but there's no guarantee Devontae Smith is going to be that stud receiver that we expect him to be. And behind him, I don't see any one of these guys really stepping up to be that number one wide receiver. It's basically right now Smith, Reagor. I kind of feel right now it's Fulgham and Ward, and then Quez and Hightower are going to fight for that fifth and final wide receiver spot.
Going to Adam's question, do you think they might use Devontae Smith as a kick returner? 30 seconds or less each of us. I'm going to say right away, only in emergency situations like they used to with
Deshaun
Watson. Not Deshaun Watson, Jesus. Where's my head?
DJ.
Deshaun Jackson, where it was like we needed a spark. Besides that, just like Peanut said, we cannot afford to lose him to injury. That's my 30 seconds.
Agreed.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to use him as a kick returner.
Cool. Tight ends. Here we go. Whoa. Look whose name is still on the list. While I do declare, I think I have said for quite a few weeks now that maybe Zach Ertz should come back to the Philadelphia Eagles because nobody wants him.
I wouldn't say nobody wants him. It's nobody wants to give up what the Eagles want. I think that's what you're kind of
remember, Zach Ertz put himself on a pedestal last year saying, I should be paid like a number one receiver, and then had an absolute dog crap of a season. He needs to come back and play in order to get some money somewhere else. The Eagles needed him to come back and play. This was a never going to trade him situation.
Yeah. No,
I wouldn't say it was a never trade situation. It's just the Eagles are business. They put business first before their players. And I know everyone keeps on saying the Eagles need to do right by Zach Ertz because ultimately the value of his contract over the course of his career, he helped us bring a Super Bowl. We got the best value for him. So if you could take a late round pick for him, great. But they're not going to. Right now they either want what they want or bring it, or they want him to come back. And I kind of feel there's going to be something dropping hopefully in the next couple of days in regard to Zach Ertz because we know the reports that if he's still on the roster, he will be reporting to camp, and we don't know what that means. We don't know if he's going to be here for the start of the season, but I kind of feel they're going to try and negotiate something where he's going to take a less of a cap hit, and then they might still try to move him. If not, then he's going to be on the roster.
Right. Johnny, talk tight ends for me.
What kind of tight ends?
Weird flex, bro.
Sorry, but you have Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz and Richard Rodgers. They signed Richard Rodgers a little bit ago, but the rest of the guys, like you have some converted other positions in Tyree Jackson, who used to be a quarterback with University of Buffalo, and then Hakeem Butler, who was a stud receiver for Iowa State, who, in my personal opinion, I like Hakeem Butler when he was coming out of the draft. So I'm pulling for him, but I feel like, again, these bottom couple guys, to me, it's their practice squad. The guy I would keep an eye on, especially if Zach Ertz is moved, would be Jack Stoll. It was an undrafted free agent out of Nebraska. Nebraska doesn't really use their tight ends that much. So he wasn't really featured in that offense for Nebraska, but I feel he's a player that can, give you a little bit something as a third tight end. But again, it poses the question: if Zach Ertz isn't here, do they do what they did last year and just keep two tight ends?
No.
So
I think coming off of what Indianapolis has done, they do need two tight ends, but that means they need at least three on the roster.
But like I said, time will tell because right now it's Goddard, Ertz, and Rodgers. I don't think you're keeping four tight ends. So.
The only thing the Eagles organization better do, and Zach Ertz, if he still is on that roster day one for the start of the season, he needs to accept and realize that he is no longer the starting tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, we need to know what we have with Dallas Goedert. Last year was supposed to be his breakout season, especially with Ertz and this offense. We expected a breakout year from him, and along with the rest of the offense, he was a disappointment. He has one more year left on his contract. We need to know going forward with this rebuild, retool, whatever it is, if Dallas Goedert is part of those plans going forward. So they need to have the main focus point for Dallas Goedert as part of this offense if they want him. If we need to know if he's going to be here past 2021.
See, the thing also is the Zach Ertz role is going to kind of be what Brent Selleck had to do when Zach Ertz was drafted, and then the following year, started to really start coming into his own. And Brent Selleck took a back seat. Yes, he was still a little bit of a focal point in the offense, but it wasn't as big of a feature as he used to be.
The big difference though between Selleck and Ertz,
the salary.
Selleck could block. Ertz not that. I would say Ertz ain't that good of a blocker.
He's a great blocker.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Mike. We're getting there. We're working our way slowly through the offense here.
This is gonna be at this point.
It's not going to do that because I got stuff to do as well. Offensive tackle. We know the battles here. But we got Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Andre Dillard, Jack Driscoll, LaRaven Clark, Brett Toth, Kayode Owasika, and Casey Tucker. How'd I do with the names, Johnny?
Better than me.
I thought Kayode Owasika was pretty solid.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. Lane Johnson's your starter if he's healthy. Jordan Mailata should be your starter if he's healthy. Yeah. Andre Dillard should be trade fodder. Jack Driscoll can play anywhere, and the other four are all practice squad.
Well, LaRaven Clark will probably start on the PUP list, in my opinion.
Right.
The other guys, like you said, Toth, unfortunately, he's a developmental prospect.
I know you love him.
Owasika, I think he is another player that could play multiple positions. That could be a practice squad guy. Casey Tucker is like the Jordan Matthews of the offensive line. He's just here and there and everywhere, but just never on the real roster. But you're right. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, to me, those should be your bookend tackles. Andre Dillard. Now, unfortunately, I do think there's going to be a little bit of the battle between Mailata and Dillard. Yeah, Mailata had a good year, but I still think Dillard's going to get a shot to battle. And whether or not Mailata beats him out and Dillard still looks pretty good, that you're able to possibly move him for something. Maybe it's another player that's undervalued on another team. Maybe it's a corner that isn't going to make a roster that you can try and swap players for. Things like that happen. But I think Driscoll really surprised us last year in what he could do. I
thought he was great.
Well, he was able to fill in, played right tackle, he played all over. And he can play a number of positions. And we thought, like when he was drafted, I thought, he's a guard, or possibly they were working him a little bit at backup center. And
I thought the same thing.
So he can play it, he has that position versatility, which is very valuable, especially in the offensive line. And, to me, Driscoll on the right-hand side, he's your number 3 guy if Dillard's not there. But he's definitely a crucial player on that offensive line.
Yeah. Jeff, anything to add about the tackles?
No, it's your top 4. It's not a matter of battling for a spot. It's going to be a battle of who starts or not between Dillard and Mailata. Johnson's your right starter on the right side. Driscoll, like we brought up, he brings that versatility, so he's definitely going to be one of the backups. The rest of the guys are going to be special teamers. But to Johnny's point, I know he continues to think that there is some type of value for either Dillard or Mailata, whoever gets doesn't get the starting job. Unless a team blows you away with some type of trade, no, the Eagles are not trading any one of those guys that does not win the starting job. And I know Dillard has been a disappointment, but the one thing that we have seen or that we saw last year is they lack the depth along the offensive line. One of your starters goes down, they need someone to step up. So if they trade one of these guys, do we have any faith in Clark, Toth, Owasika, or Tucker to be that 4th tackle to fill in for one of those guys? I don't
either, but I don't have faith in Andre Dillard to be the guy.
To me, if Clark is healthy, I have faith in him because he's done it. He started at the NFL level.
Right.
So that's the only thing. If he's not healthy and you want to throw guys like Toth and Tucker and Owasika in, I don't think that's really the best idea.
But that's also unless you're moving Lane Johnson to the left side, I would say if Mailata flames out, we have to remember we have to protect potentially our franchise starting quarterback with Jalen Hurts if he's going to be here long term. You need someone blocking his blind side. You need someone on that left side of the line that can come in here and get in guys' faces and protect him.
Unfortunately, I don't think Dillard is anything but left tackle. To me, that's not that guy. Opinion. Unless he's working at it and he can play the other side, but it isn't.
He played better at left tackle than he did right tackle.
Oh no doubt. He played much better at left tackle because that's his natural position. And when we had Trey Thomas on last year, he talked about it. It's like writing with your opposite hand. It's not that easy.
And Adam's point, Landon Dickerson will play once he comes back. Look, he's not a tackle. He's mostly interior guy. He'll move around between the center,
the guard, and the center.
Yes, guard and center. So he's more of the interior line, which I agree with. So unless are any of our potential starting guards, can they play tackle if one of these guys flames out? Johnny, you would know better.
let's get to the guards. Let's go to the next slide and
Shall we?
Yeah.
Jeff segued right into it. Now the guards and centers, just so everyone knows, the guards and centers, basically some of the centers can play guard too. So there's a lot of centers on there. It's just the way it works, just so people are aware of it. They don't only have a couple guards because some of those tackles, they can play guard as well. So there's a lot of versatility. But getting to the guards here, Brandon Brooks, Samalu, Herbig, Pryor, Opeta. The only ones you could see playing tackle, Matt Pryor. And do you really want Matt Pryor playing tackle? We watched that last year, and it was abysmal watching him play. It was almost as bad as watching Jamon Brown fix his glove.
Oh, dear God.
I had to bring it up. I had to bring it up just for you. But no, if Brooks and Sayamalu are healthy, to me that's great because Brooks is one of the best offensive guards in the league if he's healthy. Of course, he's had the recent injury history, which is very scary, and it's a daunting thing to come back from. But you hope that he can come back and be that top 3 guard in the NFL. But again, age doesn't always help you with that, especially coming off of major surgery, major injuries the last couple of seasons. But right. I think Herbig is one player that really stepped up. He lost weight in the offseason, and I feel that Herbig is a player. He's an undrafted player, but he's really come into his own to be a really quality backup for them.
And don't forget that Dickerson is on this list as a guard as well, along with Driscoll. Driscoll can play guard as well. So looking at that, Opeta, Pryor, Brooks, Sayamalu, and Herbig are solid, but I also don't see a reason why Driscoll doesn't win a guard job from Sayamalu.
I think Sayamalu gets a lot of heat, but I think he's vastly underrated. I feel when he's in there, of course he was injured last year, but to me he's underrated. They always like to throw shade at him, but I think he's really progressed year after year after year. He started out slow his rookie year in 2016, but Stoutland has really made him into a quality guard. And when Kelsey retires, I could see him moving to center and Dickerson playing Sayamalu's spot.
Over Dickerson, okay.
Well, Dickerson's 6'5". That's a pretty big ass center. I'm just saying.
That's our audio clip of the night, by the way. He's 6'5". That's a big ass center,
especially when you have a short quarterback.
Exactly.
But I'll say I understand your point about Sayamalu, Johnny, but I kind of feel he definitely needs to step up his game. He's not the worst, but I kind of feel that he's somewhat getting his gameplay. He's getting help. Look who he's playing next to. He's playing next to Lane Johnson. He's playing next to Jason Kelsey. 2 of the best at their position. When Lane Johnson was out, or when Jason Kelsey had to come out for a play or two,
he's playing left guard, so he's playing with the left tackles. He played with Peter.
He's playing with Mailata and Kelsey. Peters and Kelsey. Brooks
is on next to Lane.
For some reason, I thought they had Brooks at left.
But again,
even so.
I want to talk centers because I can't believe there's 5 guys on the roster right now.
Yeah.
Who all play center? Kelsey's your center. Dickerson, if they ever sign him, is your backup. Besides that, if they have to go deeper than that, the team is fucked.
Piersbacher.
Go ahead. Talk about Piersbacher.
The only reason he's on center is because to put him in the guard, it was going into the logo, and I couldn't see the rest of his name. So there's a little backstory on why he's at the center. Now, he did play center. He was Jalen Hurts center at Alabama. But he's a guard. He's he won't be on the roster. But Harry Kreider, that's a really good name though. Harry Kreider. He should be a tight end.
Listen, you were the one who has the backup research on Harry Kreider. I have absolutely nothing to add there.
Indiana University.
Sure, there it is.
But Jason Kelsey, Landon Dickerson, they liked Juriga, but again, that was the last staff. So to me, it's Kelsey Dickerson.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fat to trim in this group.
Yeah. You don't keep more than 2 centers. It's those.
Peanut, I wasn't going to say it on the air because we have to do the audio podcast of this all. But what a great comment, Peanut, because that's what I was thinking in my mind.
You will hear Birds, Beers, and BS. Harry Kreider may be the new name of Party Doll Dave's friend.
Oh, God.
But getting into the defensive side of the ball, we're not for offensive talk. We're going to start with the defensive side of the ball now.
We've been offensive enough. Let's get defensive with it.
There we go.
Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan, Teron Jackson, Joe Osman, Jaquan Bailey, and Matt Leo. This is a group. Brandon Graham is still excellent. Derek Barnett, I think, could be traded because of who he has behind him in Josh Sweat. And Ryan Kerrigan's on a prove-it deal.
I think a lot of the Derek Barnett talk is the possibility, but I think it really, for me, it's going to see, they're going to see how Teron Jackson and, in the next slide, a guy like Jannard Avery, he's listed as a linebacker, but he's like a pass rush type of player. Joe Osman, another guy that's, can play pass rush linebacker. It's going to depend on a lot of those guys, because if these guys are able to show what they can do and they, kind of raise to the next level, a guy like Derek Barnett and his $10 million salary, which is only able to be recouped basically and not have to pay out as if he's traded. If he's cut, it doesn't really do anything. So he would have to be traded. And you could see a possibility. Maybe they do that. But right now, I don't think it is going to be a possibility because you don't know what you have after, Sweat and Kerrigan. There's 4 defensive ends, and they're going to need to maneuver some of these guys. Like a Brandon Graham's going to play inside sometimes on pass rush situations when we get into the next position. But I like the group. I like Teron Jackson a lot as a rookie. Hard-working type of player. Ryan Kerrigan with a limited amount of snaps. Yes, he's in his 30s, but I think he is a very productive pass rusher. He showed that the last couple of years. I know he hasn't had 10 double-digit sacks, but in the amount of –
But that's not what we need him for.
He's getting you, 5.5 sacks. He's being able to get pressure on the quarterback.
Remember, that's not what you need Kerrigan for. You need Kerrigan in a Chris Long type role to come in and mentor a group, come in, take snaps away, and be dominant in those snaps.
And the other fun thing to really think about is Josh Sweat is only 24 years old. He just turned 24. Yeah. I know he's had injury issues, and I saw something tweeted earlier tonight about injury history, and he kind of commented back on it. About that, stop talking about like the injury history, but the last 2 seasons he's only missed 2 games, so it's not like he's on injury reserve every single season. I know he has some injury history, but the kid's only 24 years old. To me, I think the sky's still the limit with him.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Jeff, anything on the defensive ends before we get tackling? Tackling.
This could be the strength of our team, or it possibly be one of the weaknesses of our team. Because look, Brandon Graham, yeah, he's coming off a Pro Bowl year a year ago, but remember, he's a year older now. He's 33 years old. Derek Barnett, if he's on this roster, he has not lived up to the first-round hype. Josh Sweat, yeah, he had productive season last year on limited stats, but he is not an every down defensive end, especially with those knees. Kerrigan, same thing. He's getting up there in age, and with limited snaps can be productive. And behind those guys, if one of those gets hurt, do you have trust in Teron Jackson, Joe Osman, or Bailey to step in and be productive? I'm hoping so, especially with the track record from this Eagles defensive line. But it's also going to come down to the next group, the defensive tackles, whether Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave can bring their game up and come in here and play lights out, because that'll definitely lighten the load for our defensive ends and open up some holes and spaces for them.
Right. So Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Milton Williams, Hassan Ridgeway, T.Y. McGill or Ty McGill, who knows, Marlon Tua, Willie Henry, and Raekwon Williams.
Tui Pelotu.
Sure, exactly. That's exactly what I said.
We're gonna have to have like Google Translate type and just put their address or put their name in and see what Google says about it instead of us trying to pronounce the names.
I don't think you want that, because that may be worse than what you guys are trying.
Whatever I just said. Listen, I just love that Johnny's graphic has Javon Hargrave looking scarier than he did on the field all last year.
You're going to see that when you go to sleep tonight.
I am. Again, same thing. This group is really, on paper, excellent between Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. Just your top two are outstanding. Hassan Ridgeway, I think, is a little bit hyped up from the last regime, but maybe. And everyone else, we'll see. But I think Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Milton Williams could be a stud pickup.
And I think
he could have been a stud pick.
I think Milton Williams can play a number of positions, whether it's on the edge or inside. So I think, Cox and Hargrave started to come on a little bit last year after he had a couple of injuries and learning the defense and everything with that. Of course, it's a new defensive scheme, but I think the thing with the defensive tackles has got to be who defensive tackle number 4, that basically, because Milton Williams is going to be the number 3. It's the number 4 guy. Whether it's Ridgeway, does he stay healthy? Because when he was healthy, he was productive as a number 4 defensive tackle.
Right.
T.Y. McGill, Tui Pelotu, I think the bottom 2 guys are basically just fillers. Unless they have somehow, astronomical, outstanding preseason, but I really don't see them sticking. Maybe on the squad, but I think the Ridgeway, McGill, and Tui Pelotu, I think those 3 guys come training camp and into the preseason. I think that's going to be a pretty fun battle to watch because they bring a little bit of, differences in their game. Like, Tui Pelotu is a run stuffing, basically one technique, nose tackle type of player. And he's, to me, I think he was drafted where he was drafted. I think it could potentially be a steal. I feel he can be a player in a role. He's not going to be a pass rusher. He's not going to get you 10 sacks, but he's going to be able to clog up the middle and he's going to be able to do that in a defensive tackle room that, they do need that. Ridgeway and McGill, are they going to be able to do that? So I feel like those 3 guys are going to be a fun battle to watch come training camp because we know Cox, Hargrave, and Williams are going to be on the roster unless Cox is dealt, which I don't see that happening.
That's not going to happen.
Don't see it happening.
No way that happens.
But those 3 guys, I would say it's going to be a fun watch to see how that pans out.
So going from one of the strengths on the team to one of now nothing but weaknesses coming here.
Yeah.
Oh boy, linebackers: Eric Wilson, Alex Singleton, T.J. Edwards, Jannard Avery, Davion Taylor, Sean Bradley, Jacoby Stevens, Patrick Johnson, Rashad Smith. Jeff, what are your thoughts on our linebackers?
Hey, at least Nathan Gary's no longer on the roster. That's But look, Eric Wilson's obviously the cream of the crop. Look, they finally get a decent linebacker for this group, but is it going to be enough? Can Alex Singleton or TJ Edwards help fill that role and fill the rest of that linebacking core? Jannard Avery, look, they had to convert him from defensive end to linebacker. This ain't not going to pan out. When they have to transition you from one position to another, you're most likely not going to be making the roster. Davion Taylor,
I don't know about that. I don't know. I think Avery could make the roster. He needs to be used correctly. Jim Schwartz
he's a defensive end for a reason. Yeah, he might be able to tackle. Can he cover? Unless they're going to use him in that Chris Long type of role in the Joker position or something, Jannard Avery, I do not have faith in any type of coverage ability whatsoever, in my opinion. I hope he proves me wrong, but I'm more focused on Davion Taylor. Look, this is a guy that we invested a 3rd-round pick in. Granted, we probably should never invested a 3rd-round pick in, but we need to, like we keep on bringing up, we're under a new regime. These old players that were from the previous regime, we need to know what we have with them this season and whether they are not going to be in the plans going forward.
So
Agreed.
the Jannard Avery thing, if you look at Minnesota, they have a linebacker named Anthony Barr. Anthony Barr they're 2 different players. I'm not trying to compare them, but Anthony Barr is used as a linebacker, but they use him as a pass rusher as well. That's the only thing that's why also when you said it with the defensive ends and made a great point talking about, the injuries, the older guys, the Kerrigans, the Brandon Grahams, and if you get injuries and then all of a sudden you have to rely on the bottom guys, well, Avery could then slide over and fit into one of those roles. So that's where I'm not saying he's going to be a stud linebacker, but I feel he brings you pass rush. But again, Sean Bradley, Davion Taylor, Jacoby Stevens, Patrick Johnson, these guys were all drafted in the last 2 years. You don't know what you have in any of these guys, especially under this regime. And that's going to be the biggest question mark. And again, it's going to be a fun thing to watch and see how these players look in the training camp and essentially in these preseason games. What do they kind of give you? What kind of strengths do they have?
Yeah, I think Eric Wilson was one of the absolute steals of the free agency. He is a starting caliber NFL linebacker from day one. And like you said, is the cream of the crop. Singleton, if he learns how to cover, is worth something. TJ Edwards kind of came on towards the end, and the rest of the guys are developmental players, so let's see what they got. And I agree, Michael, with your comment of, since we won't say that guy's name, we have to stop saying the other guy's name. We're gonna start making a list of people whose names we can't say anymore. And it's going to get Geary long. All right. Corners. Oh, my God, does this group need some help? This is, without a doubt, the weakest group on the entire roster, and that's just my opinion, but I'm glad that you guys agree with me. Cool. Darius Slay, Avonte Maddox, Craig James, Michael Jacquet, Zech McPherson, Josiah Scott, Kayvon Seymour, Nate Madors, Lavert Hill, and Shaquille Taylor. This group needs help immediately in order to cover anybody in the NFC East, in the NFC West, in the NFC South, in the NFC Least, in the
Big Ten. They need help.
In the Big Ten, I was getting there. In the Big Ten, in the FCS, this group is embarrassing.
I was actually going to put Jeff's name in the middle of it and see if you guys noticed, but
this group is bad. This group is bad.
The thing with this group is, we've seen Avonte Maddox. They try to use him on the nickel. They try to use him on the outside. They've used him as safety. Where does he really fit? Craig James, a good special teamer. He's played with Minnesota before. So there's some things, Michael Jacquet is a long corner that they looked at. And I understand he had that bad game. And the thing is, there's a lot of development needed with these guys, and that's the tough part, and that's why there's the fans clamoring for the Xavier Howards and the Steven Nelson, and to get a veteran corner to be able to play opposite of Slay. Because if you start getting what you've had the last couple of seasons with the injuries in the defensive secondary, you're going to be then going down to the bottom of the list, and that's where you're going to be calling tire shops and getting more Kayvon Seymours. And
if we get to the fourth guy on this list, we are already entirely lost on the season.
To me, they do need to add a veteran corner. And then, like I said, let's see what else. See what Zech McPherson, a rookie, has. Josiah Scott was, rookie draft pick by the Jaguars 2 years ago. So, see what you got in some of those players, see what kind of skills they bring, see what Jonathan Gannon, who is a secondary coach, a defensive backs coach, see what he can do and mold some of these players.
Sure.
But don't expect these guys to be all pros. Like, that's not what we're.
I don't expect them to be all pros. They're barely pros. I need somebody of actual caliber on the look. The Dallas Cowboys have stud wide receivers. The Giants don't necessarily have great wide receivers, but they've got a running back that demands attention. So you've got single coverage. These teams that they're going against, even in the division, more than Darius Slay needs to be here. More than Darius Slay has to be here. It's just that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, in a rebuild, retool type of year, are they really going to go out there and really feel? Is there anyone? Do you guys feel that Steve Nelson or any one of these other potential cornerbacks automatically makes them a playoff Super Bowl contending team?
But I don't. But remember, think about what Connor Miles said last week. He said that they cannot have 4 wins again. They have to go up to at least 6 or 7. With this cornerback roster, this team wins 2 games.
But we also always complain and continue with the old regime that they have never develop their rookies properly or never give them a chance or enough playing time to develop properly. And I kind of feel the Eagles brass and the coaching staff, they're going to this training camp, going with the young guys, seeing what they have, and they want to see. I kind of feel this is Zach McPherson's or his job to lose right now. They want to see what they have in the young kid. If he can prove to be the outside corner and be the potential starter going forward. If not, then they might look to invest. I agree with you guys. They need another veteran, but I'm trying to look at from the Eagles brass standpoint that they keep on getting criticized that they do not allow their young drafted players in the later rounds an opportunity to show their skills. And I kind of feel that's what they're trying to do here with the cornerbacks. And
Jeff, I agree with that. I agree with everything you just said. The problem is that you can't go from, well, they're not letting their younger guys play, to going, you have one caliber corner and then 13 guys that all need to be developed at the same time.
Yeah, but
luckily, week one, the only starting wide receiver they have to worry about is Calvin Ridley, because right now the Falcons' number 2 wide receiver is Russell Gage. So whoever the hell is playing number 2 don't have to worry too much.
Russell Gage isn't nothing to sneeze at. He is a good player. But my thing, what Connor said last week is Kenny Moore, who was on Indianapolis, was an undrafted player. He's one of the best slot corners now in the league. So the development aspect of what they can do, not saying all these guys are going to develop, but if you can take 1 or 2 guys and make them solid corners, I think that's very beneficial. And something that Jeff noted, talking about to be able to.
Yep, Mike, exactly.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts is another player that's going to.
And it's still Matt Ryan throwing the ball. So don't forget about that. He makes everybody look good.
But right now, I do think they need to add a veteran in this room. But again, they're probably going to go to camp. And maybe they'll get somebody a little bit later into camp.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
This is the group that scares me. It is without a doubt the weakest position on the team.
Yep.
Without a doubt. Safeties looks up a little bit. Anthony Harris, great pickup. Rodney McLeod, if he comes back healthy. Kayvon Wallace, I need him to play like the pick that he was supposed to, and they have to develop him. Marcus Epps, Andrew Adams, Grayland Arnold, Kayvon Seymour, and Elijah Riley. Top 2 names are really good. Third name can be good. Everyone else, let's kind of see. This group is okay.
Anthony Harris, I've said it in previous shows, he was franchised by Minnesota. He was one of the best safeties in the league. Minnesota had a lot of issues on the defensive line last year, so there was a lot of issues in that secondary as well because they had plenty of corners go down as well. So there's a lot of injuries that really hurt that defense. But I think that was a great pickup, valuable pickup for them. And the value they got, I think $5 million, which is nothing for a really good safety. Rodney McLeod coming back, is he going to be healthy enough? That time will tell with that, because if he is not healthy for week 1, then it really throws into a loop. Who then is next? Is it going to be Kayvon Wallace? Marcus Epps has played for Minnesota before, so he's a little familiar with that defense. Andrew Adams, I really don't think you want him starting. He's a special team player. Grayland Arnold played a little corner, played safety, but again, he was an undrafted player last year. And to me, it's if Rodney McLeod's back and he's able to start with Anthony Harris, it gives you a little bit, easier feeling. But if not, then you gotta hope Kayvon Wallace takes that next step, and Marcus Epps possibly is a good rotational safety. Andrew Adams, what do you get from him? But I think Rodney McLeod's the biggest, basically X factor in terms of, is he going to be healthy for week 1?
Sure. Anything to add, Jeff, before we go to the easiest position group to go breakdown?
Anthony Harris is a ball hawk. I expect a big year from him. I agree Kayvon Wallace needs to step up. It's going to be interesting to see how many they keep here. I kind of feel they might go maybe a little bit heavy at the safety position because of the lack of depth at the quarterback position and guys that can contribute on special teams. So it's going to be interesting to see who – there might be a couple guys that we are ruling out right now that might surprise you. It might be on the roster come day 1.
Cool. Special teams. We got a kicker in Jake Elliott. We got a long snapper in Rick Lovato. And we got a punter in Aaron Sipos.
Not even gonna lie, I didn't even know who the hell our punter was until this freaking graphic.
Yeah. See, now you know. All right, Elliot, Sipos, and Lovato. Okay, let's go to the poll question. We don't need to talk about
exactly. That's enough of that.
Yeah,
Let's see if Jake Elliott can kick a field goal.
Yeah.
All right.
Again.
So talk about our poll question of the week there, Johnny.
So the poll question of the week, I will bring it up right here. All right. So which player would you like to see the Eagles acquire is what we asked. And we had Steven Nelson, Xavier Howard, Deshaun Watson, and other.
Okay. How many votes? How many votes came in?
We had 212.
Ooh, so it's official. It's official.
It does meet Jeff's criteria of at least 100 or close to it. But Xavier Howard led it with 42% of the vote.
Wow.
Then it was Deshaun Watson with 32%.
Really?
Steven Nelson, 23%, and 3% other.
What were some of those names?
What were some of the other names?
They didn't give you any other name. They just started talking about Watson and Howard, and they went back.
Oh, yeah. I saw George's debate with that guy. Yeah. Okay.
So there was no other names. Unfortunately, they didn't give examples, but 3% say other. So we'll think of whatever.
I'll say mine. It's Steven. It's Nelson, man. That guy is another island unto himself. He needs a prove-it year. Him alongside with Slay all of a sudden catapult us into at least we have two really, really, really good corners. It's Nelson, hands down, no question.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I look, Steven Nelson's a great option, but Pittsburgh Steelers, they usually know when to move on from a player, and that kind of scares me a little bit. As good as Steven Nelson has played in the past, just the fact that an organization like the Steelers let him go the way they did, I went with Xavier Howard. Look, we need to revamp this defense. The cornerback position, like we brought up on this show and numerous times before, is the weakest position on the roster. And I got George's point. He kept on saying, look, quarterback position is the most important position in the NFL. If you have a chance to get a guy like Deshaun Watson, go for it. But what are you willing to give up to get Deshaun Watson? I'm not ready to give up multiple first-round picks for him.
No.
Plus you bring that baggage, and yeah, he might not be arrested or fined by the league or whatever. We don't know what's going to happen. Once that is all settled, you have a black guy in your organization to bring a guy like that has that type of baggage linked to him. As great a football player he is, that's all fine and dandy, but we don't need bad press right now when we're in a rebuild mode with a new head coach. And second off, with Deshaun Watson, does getting him right now automatically make you a Super Bowl contending team? It makes you a better team. In my opinion, remember, he had a career year last year. He had the best season of his career. He simply had 4 wins with a horrible football team. We're somewhat in the same situation. I feel we're a little bit better off than Houston right now, minus the quarterback position. Ultimately, hopefully Hurts changes that. But getting Deshaun Watson does not automatically flip us from a borderline playoff team to a Super Bowl contender, at least this year.
I think right now, and then Johnny, I'll throw it to you. I think right now getting Watson does the same thing for your team that Aaron Rodgers does for this Philadelphia Eagles team. It makes you a better team, but the roster is still what the roster is. It doesn't catapult you to superstardom. So why go out and get a quarterback when you've got a guy like Jalen Hurts to see what he has to do? There should not be any more Watson conversation. He's got to go somewhere that's on the cusp. We're not there. Johnny, you, sir.
I went Xavier Howard just because an all-pro elite cornerback on the market doesn't always come on the market. And, you may have to give up possibly a second-round pick and a player. I don't think you have to give up too much. But, yeah, it's the whole point about the Deshaun Watson, to get into it real quick, and what Jeff said, on a football team last year, he had his great year, yet he only won 4 games. And you look at it, you trade, whether it's 3 first-round picks or whatever, the legal thing is one thing. But you look at it, you trade that, and say they struggle again this year, and all of a sudden the Texans have your selection, which is possibly a top 10 because you're not very good. And then what are you really going to be building? Yes, you may have some money, but again, you're taking on his contract, which is a pretty big deal as well. And to me, that's why I just feel that you get a Howard, he'll help the defensive side of the ball. See what you have in Hurts, Because if Hurts shows you if he shows you something, and there's promise with him, then you have 3 first-round selections. Possibly.
And those 3 first-round picks are worth more than Watson right now.
Especially in a draft that the pass rush is so good and deep. And when you have a guy like Brandon Graham, who's 33 years old, and a unproven guy like Derek Barnett, who possibly won't be here next year, and you need to shore up that position and get more depth there, the puzzle pieces start to fit if you really think about it. And you can't – I understand the Watson's that he's an all-world talent. I understand.
Listen, he's the sexy name right now. Everybody wants Deshaun Watson in an Eagles uniform. It's the sexy idea.
But just like Steven Nelson.
Just like Steven Nelson is the sexy name in the Eagles. I get it. It's what people want to fix the problem. But like the comment said, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. I thought that was a great analogy, Michael. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. That's why I just feel that the whole Watson thing, people get a little out of sorts thinking that this, an all world type quarterback is going to make the team so much better. Yeah, he may improve at a time. It may make him better on paper, but I just, with this roster and, the legal thing aside, I don't want to commit all those picks. Plus then you could take his contract. There's a lot to it. And you just had a big contract you had to eat and trade away someone. So I don't. Yeah, I know.
Peanut, your comments are killing me, dude. That's outstanding. So we already know you've got a new adult film name, and now that I'd be like, that's Peanut. Well
Harry Kreider's Happy Endings. Look at that. There's a new film on Birds, Beers, and BS. He'll promote it.
And
I'm on that film.
Yeah. On that note, I want to wrap it up because, my goodness, that was a little creepy way to end it right there. Yes, Philly fits an area with draft capital and cap space. I get that. But again, it doesn't fit the team the way it is right now. The team the way it is right now has a quarterback. We got to see if he's the quarterback. And with that being said, this has been the All About the Birds weekly report. I want to shout out all of the incredible comments that rolled in all night. That was such a great interactive show. I really appreciated that. Shout out to all of our amazing, incredible, wonderful sponsors. We got Statement Games. They are a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. Again, without them, we could not do what we do. Along with oddsjam.com, you can use their arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Again, without them, we could not do what we do. The allaboutthebirds.com/shop for all of our incredible design support, local podcast support, the guys that do this with passion and flavor and excitement rather than some of the ones that don't because they're jaded radio hosts. You know what I'm saying? That's not what we do up in here, so support us. 99jersey.com is partnered with AATBirds. Use the code AATBirds20 for a 20% discount at checkout, along with manscaped.com. They are partnered with All About the Birds. Your balls and your women will thank you. AAT Birds at checkout, 20% off and free shipping. We have a great lineup the rest of the week. So tomorrow we have our, Across the Pitch. Did I get it right?
Across the Pitch. Post-game show, Philadelphia Union. Different time. So once the clock hits 0 or 90, whatever the hell it is in soccer, our boys Mike and Dave will be with you talking post-game, breaking that down. Friday, of course, on our YouTube channel, exclusively on YouTube, the Birds, Beers, and BS show with myself and Peanut. And then next week, is Johnny able to announce next week? Is it confirmed? We might have a special guest for next week's show.
Yes, I am working the final details on that, so we will announce that and get that to everybody, let them know who will be on the show next week.
And then
Good.
Chip.
And then, of course, Monday night, we are going to talk about the failure that was the Sixers season because the Bucks are the champions. We're going to talk about yet another blown save by Hector Neris and the joke that is the Phillies. We're going to talk about the guys that the Flyers tried to give away and nobody wanted them. So we got a lot to talk about on Chips and Dish on Monday night. So you can tune in. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing out the All About the Birds Network. We are constantly putting out new content, constantly interacting with our fans. We appreciate you. We thank you. And as we end every show here.
And real quick, I just want to give
hold up.
Real quick shout out to our intern Mike Devlin, also one of our writers.
Intern Mike!
Appreciate his help tonight. Him on the back on the ones and twos, keeping us up afloat. So thank you to him as well. He also produced his Across the Pitch as well. He's been doing great work for us.
That's true. My bad. I forgot intern Mike. Look, we were able to go no hands the entire show because he was putting up the comments. He was putting up the videos. Intern Mike in the house. So again, we want to thank you guys for letting us do what we do. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing. And as we end every show here on the All About the Birds Network, right before we play a weird, creepy commercial about shaving your genitals, we end it with saying what?
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Peace. Summer's coming. Are you ready to unveil your beach bod? You're in luck. Our friends at Manscaped just launched their 4th generation performance package, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Complement your summer bod with a trim from the leaders in male grooming. The sun is shining and calling your name, fellas. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for hot guy summer by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds. It's time to bundle up with the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. First off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is insane and, dare I say, the GOAT of ball trimmers. Yes, I said it. The 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor and a new multifunction on-off switch and can engage a travel lock and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Not to mention, it's waterproof. Want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquids formulations. Before heading outside, use Crop Preserver ball deodorant to keep you on your game in the heat. Then, after trimming the lawn and whacking the weeds in the heat, give your beach balls a boost and use Crop Reviver. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0. Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. Escape the shrubs and weeds this summer and shine with Manscaped.